I recently did a video, a tutorial about a dental clinic website. And this is one of the parts that really sparked a lot of curiosity. This part where I lay these items within this particular section. Now, a lot of people are wondering how I do this. And the answer is using Elementor containers. Now, you can see this full tutorial. I'm going to link it in the description. But I want to teach you today how to use containers in Elementor. Now, we used to have inner sections in Elementor, but it didn't perform that well and they had a lot of bugs. So Elementor introduced containers. So with containers, you can add elements in elements and you can choose how they are placed, how they are aligned, the direction, the alignment and everything. So without much ado, in this tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you how the basics of using Elementor containers. So I want to show you how to rebuild this section using Elementor containers. So the first thing I'm going to do is that I want to add a section inside here, and I want it to be a Flexbox container. So I'm going to use, you can see the different directions. And when I click on these 6 dots here, if I come to the layout panel, you can see I can make it face this direction. It should be horizontal instead, which means that if I add something like an image inside and I choose to duplicate this image, the images are going to be stacked, next to each other. But if I now come back to this section and I come and I change the direction, you will see that they are stacked on top of each other. So let me add some pictures here to make this very, very clear. I'll add this picture. And for this, I'm going to use another picture like this one. So you see, these are 2 pictures. If I click on this section and I make this to be horizontal, you see that the 2 pictures are placed next to each other. Now, this is horizontal, moving right. If I make it left, you see that the positions of the pictures are superimposed. So this one goes to the left. Let me bring it back this way. Now, if I make it this way, you see the picture of the nurse is going to be stacked under the picture of the teeth. If I put it the opposite direction, you see the positions have switched. Now, let me make it back horizontal. And now, if I use this justify content and I place, tap on the start to justify content, you don't really see any difference because these are 2 pictures and they are basically flushing. And if I use this one to be centered, you really don't see any change actually. And even the end, you will not see any change. But if I use this space between, even here, it doesn't show any difference. Now, I'm going to show you how to use this space between and this space around. I'm going to show you where to use them. For pictures, you don't see because the pictures basically take up the entire space. So now that is that for this. And then for the gaps, you can choose to remove, to unlink them. So when I unlink them, it goes to 0. You see there is actually now no difference in gap spacing between these 2 elements. Now I'm going to remove these picture widgets. I want to focus on these for now. So the first thing I want to do is that I want to give this a background image, this entire section a background image. And I want to select an image from my dashboard. I'm going to select this one so that it flushes. So for this entire container, I've given this image. Now, with these containers, you can also give a slideshow and you can make a gradient. I think a good place to start would be to use a gradient. You can give a flat color like black, and this entire section is going to be black, this entire container. And you can give a gradient and you can choose the gradient colors here. And you can even choose the direction or the location of the gradient. I'm going to leave it the way it is. For the angle, if we make this to be 90, angle 90, you see that the gradient, it goes from left to right. If we make it 270, you'll see it's the opposite direction. So we can also add a video to this container. I'm not going to do that here, but if I did, I was going to put the link here and you'll see the video begin to play. We can also add a slideshow, which is a number of pictures. We can add a slideshow. So I'm going to choose these, and this, and I'm going to add them to the slideshow. If I insert them, you'll see they begin to slide. After this, the picture is going to change. You see the picture is changing on the background. It's not very clear here because this area is still very narrow. Now, let's add another container. When we added this Flexbox, it automatically adds, a container, but we want to add an inner container. Now, so I'm going to click here, and before we had inner sections, but inner sections are a thing of the past. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a container inside here. And in this container, I want to add something like this text. So I'm going to duplicate. I'll just copy this text and add it inside here. I'll paste the text there. Now, before we go to make this our work very clear, let me give this section, this Flexbox container, a background overlay. So I'm going to give it a background overlay. I'm going to come to style, come down to overlay, and then I want to make the overlay to be black. And then you can change the opacity. You can increase the opacity here. I'll leave it the way it is. Now notice this inner container has the default direction, which is top to bottom. So if I now copy another text and come and add it here and paste it here, you see that both of them are stacked on each other. Now, what happens if I change the direction of this container to horizontal? You see the two text items, they are stacked next to each other. If I duplicate this, you see the same thing here, which to me doesn't really look nice. So I'm going to change the direction of this one back to, top to bottom. So this one is on top, the other one is under. Now, we see here, we also have buttons. So I want to add another container beneath this one. Make sure you don't drop it. I'll just duplicate this one. Now, we can also add a container inside here. But for now, I'll just duplicate this container. Let me delete this. And first things first, I want to remove that direction. And then when I duplicate now, it still gives me that horizontal direction. So what I need to do is to change the direction of this entire container. And I want to change it. I want to make it to be default. That's for this entire general container. So when I duplicate now, you see the container comes under. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to leave this to be default for now. When I finish my work, then I can change the direction. But you also notice that when you add a container inside a Flexbox, inside this main Flexbox container, it has its independence in the sense that if this main container is horizontally facing and I can come here to this particular container and decide that, you see, it inherits the direction of the main container. If I make this horizontally spacing, let me turn that off for now. And then let me put this to default. If I make this main container to be horizontally spacing, I can add a container inside here and make it to be vertically spacing. So I'm not going to do that for now. And at the same time, I can make this particular one to have an independent direction. So this container, this main container now, is vertically aligned, but I can make this one to be horizontally aligned. So you see this one of the text are stacked next to each other. I will turn this off for now. I will delete this. I'm also going to delete this. What I want to do is that I want to add some buttons here. So we see by default, this one has no direction. I'll add some buttons here. I'll add a button here, and then I'm going to duplicate this button. You see they are now stacked next to each other. Let me change the color of this one so that we see what we are doing. I'll change the background color of this one to red. So if I now come here and change the direction of this container, this inner container, you see the buttons are now stacked next to each other. If I say it should be top bottom, you see the blue one is above the red one. If I make it to be bottom top, the red one is above the blue one. And if I make it to be right to left, you see now they now come to this end. If you are building websites for Arabic clients, you can use this. So I'm going to make it left to right. Now I can justify this content. I can justify this container. If I make these two be this direction, you see it still pushes them to the left. And if I justify its center, you see these buttons come to the center. This is the advantage of containers. Now I can put a space between by clicking on this button. So both of them are on the extreme ends. And then you can also do this. You see it gives some space in the middle and in the ends. And then this one further reduces the space. But I'm going just to leave it the way it is. I'll just turn that off. So another thing we can do is what you see here. So in this case, I'm also going to duplicate this container. But I'm going to drag this one beneath here. I want to drag this one beneath. What I can do is I can drag this container and put it somewhere around here. You know what? I'm just going to do this from scratch. There's no need. I'm just going to do this from scratch. Let me delete this, and then I'm going to duplicate this container instead. And I want to delete these buttons inside here because I'm not going to be working with buttons here. I'm going to be working with what we see here. So we have this container. What I want to do is that if I make this container, I give it the direction and I want to start adding items here. It's really not going to work. So I want to add another container in this inner container. It may baffle you now, but you see the reason why. So I'll add another container here. And then now, if I give this outer container, you see there's the outer container and there's the inner one. If I give this outer container direction of horizontal, and then I now duplicate the inner container. Before I duplicate it, let me give it a background color. I will come to style and I will give it a background color of, let's say blue. I'll give it this blue color. Let it be identical to this. If this is the outer container, this is the inner container. If I now, since I've given this outer container direction of horizontal, if I now duplicate the inner one, you see they are stacked on each other. Now let me delete this, and then I will change the direction of the outer container to top, bottom. If I duplicate this now, you see what happens. This one comes under. Let me make this red. Let me make this one to be red. Okay. So if I now come and I change this outer container direction to be horizontal, you see they are now stacked on each other. And I can also decide that I want to duplicate this further. And then I can add instead a picture behind here. Instead of making it a color, I'll add a picture behind here. You can add any picture. This is the one I used here, up here. And then the position should be center. Repeat should be no repeat. Display size, cover. So this is what we have here. Now, for me to make all of them to be joined to each other, the first thing I want to do is I want to come and click on the first inner container, come to advanced. I want to toggle off padding. I want to toggle off margin. I will do the same here. I can toggle off padding and margin. This is one way to do it. I can also come here and then I toggle off padding and margin. So that is that. If I come now to this outer container and then I remove the gaps, I just turn this off, you see they are joined to each other. So you may not even need to toggle off padding and margin here sometimes. You can just remove the gap and it's going to bring all of them together. Now, I can add text. If I duplicate this, and then I want to drag this down here, it doesn't go. My page does not scroll that way. So let me just delete this. I'll just copy it. And then I want to paste it here. I'll paste it inside here. Now we have toggled off our padding and our margin, but we need to give that padding back. So let me see how much we give here. How much padding we give here. So I give it 30 all round, 30 all round. So I'm going to give this all round should be 30. 30, 30, 30. Now, I want to, you see that this inner section here, section here, it's not the same length, the same width as this, or length, or whatever you want to call it. So I reduced this to 50. This is the advantage with containers now. You can work with the sizes. So percentage, I made this to be 50. So that is 50. And then I can also add some icons inside here. I'll add some icons. Let me just say icons. I'll bring this one and add it here. I'll make it, yes, let it be star. I'm going to make it white. So if I duplicate this, you see what I'm seeing. If I duplicate this again, how many did we have there? We have 3. Now, because the direction of this inner container is default, we have them stacked on each other. Now, let me change this icon. I'll put this one. And then for this, I'm going to, let's say, use this one. But if I now come here and then I want to change the direction of this inner container, this red inner container to horizontal, you see they stack next to each other. And then I want to justify them to the center. Or if I say, let's say I want to space them out as I did here, I can use this button and it spaces them to the extremes. If I use this, you see it brings them closer to each other. And if I use this, it brings them even closer. I can now give all of these all round padding of 30. I will toggle on padding and give it all round padding of 30. Now, another thing, let's come back to this, the layout of this container. You see, we can do this here. We can also do this here. You see this align cell, but I prefer to use this functionality here. So I'll align this to the center. So it's going to center them, not just horizontally, but also vertically. So you see they are now in the middle. And for this one, we can just add a button inside here. Let me just duplicate this. And then I'll drag this and put it inside here. And you see, it's now the same. It takes a default position. If I click on this inner container, come to layout, and then I just want to justify its center. This is vertically, and this is now going to make it horizontally centered. So that is how you add buttons. So for this, we can now give this a top padding, or we can give it a minimum height if you want, but I prefer to work with paddings and margins. I'll give it, let's just say I'll first of all give it a top all-round padding of 50. of 50, all around padding of 50. It kind of distorted my work. All around padding of 50. Then I want to toggle this off and then give a top padding of 200 and a bottom padding of 200. And then if I save. So this is how you get this effect. This is how you get this kind of effect here. Now you see this section here with Flexbox containers. If I decided that I wanted to switch positions, you know, before you had to start looking at how to drag this, and you know, you could drag it and it falls on the wrong position. So, but with these Flexbox containers now, you see it's already threatening to drop on the wrong place. So you can already see we have an issue. We may have an issue there. Oh, thank God, it landed on the right place. But with Flexbox containers, we don't have to do all that. Now, I'll just click on the outer container. I can decide to make these, you know, each of them stack on each other like this, or I can give it this direction as it was. Now, if I choose the opposite direction, I'm switching the positions. So this one has come here and this other one has come here. And then maybe I want to, you know, reduce the spacing between these, all these elements. I can just toggle this off and you see they are more squashed. And I can choose now, maybe I want it to be 10 pixels and then 10 pixels. You see it's increased that. I can also use this justify content, even though it's not going to be very effective here because this flushes right to the end of the box, but I can use these gaps. Now, it's very easy to use, create a picture layout when you are using the Flexbox. I'll just add a Flexbox and I'm going to make this full width. It's always good to make this full width. So when you do full width, it really gives it some aspect of beauty. So I'll add some pictures here, some images here, as we did before. I'll change this. I'll add an image here. Let's just see this one. No, this one is not going to be good. I want to add some square pictures. So I'm going to add this picture. I'll also duplicate this. I'm just going to duplicate it and add some pictures. So you can see I've gone ahead and added quite a number of pictures and they are all stacked on top of each other. And I don't think you want your website to look this clumsy. So if I now come, I think I was supposed to add all of this in an inner container, but I'm just going to use it the way it is. If I come to this container now and I change the direction, you see each of them now, they stack next to each other. And if I come to the gaps and I reduce the gaps to 0, you see, this is how to do a beautiful a section on your website where the pictures, they stack from left to right. Now, if I want to remove this gap here, what I'll simply do is that I'm going to come to advanced and then I'm going to toggle off padding. So you see, but for you to have the best look, all of these pictures are going to have to be the same size. They are going to have to be the same size. And if you remove, let's just say I remove some of these nursing pictures here, you really see the effect I'm talking about. So you see all of these pictures now, and you can even give them hover effects. Come to edit, click on any one of them, come to style, and you can click on box shadow or hover, and when somebody hovers over them, you want the opacity to change to something like this. So that is that. So you can do this for all of these. So this is just a brief rundown of Elementor containers. I'm going to find time to do a more in-depth tutorial on them, and you can use them to bring a lot of beauty and color to your website. So if you found any value in this video, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell so that when I put out videos like this, you'll be the first to be notified. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. I try my best to respond to every comment. God bless you. Peace.